In our very first story, this is Professor Alex Dodu, a lecturer at the School of Medicine and Dentistry of the University of Ghana, has apologized to Parliament's Privileges Committee over his alleged Ebola comments, suggesting that members of Parliament were ignorant. Now, speaking before the committee, lawyers of Professor Dodu argued their client couldn't have descended that low in discrediting the reputation of the members of Parliament in his comment. They, however, indicated if that was the impression created while giving his views on the subject, they apologized on his behalf. Chairman of the committee, Ebo Batinodro, then asked the respondent to step aside while they hear from the Minister of the Volta Regional Minister, Helen Adjuanto. So here is an excerpt of what has transpired so far.
Mr. Chairman, the import of our statement was simply to get information and public sensitization so that our people will be rest assured as to what this trial is all about. That was our statement, Mr. Chairman.
The statement that you made, in what capacity did you make it?
Mr. Chairman, I mentioned it is even in our Hansard that I'm making the statement on behalf of this voter caucus. I'm not the chairman, but the chairman traveled outside the country and he has authorized me to make a statement on behalf of the caucus.
You have told us that moves were made by your caucus to try and get the exercise to be postponed. Now, what was the outcome of the steps that you took in that direction?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the 16th of June, the Minister of Health came to the floor of the House to give us detailed explanation as we requested by our statement to appear before us to tell us exactly what this Ebola vaccine was all about. And Mr. Speaker, in his statement, he admitted that enough public sensitization has not been done. That was why he has requested earlier that the trial should be suspended, and that was done. Then he also said they would, from Wednesday, I think Wednesday after, they were going to embark on sensitization and public education, and I believe that has been, they are carrying it on. I don't know whether they are finished or not.
Parents of the 16-year-old boy at the center of the Sodomy trial are happy that their son's assailant, Dr. Gabas, has been jailed. The parents, who appeared very content at yesterday's ruling, think assuming Dr. Gabas acquitted and discharged of the charges against him, he would have done worse. They are therefore grateful that justice has been served in their favor.
I'm happy that he has been jailed, because if he was released, he would have done worse. I'm happy, and God bless you for the good work.
How do you feel concerning the sponsorship from government to help educate your son?
I'm grateful for the assistance, and God bless you for helping a poor man like me.
It's very good.
Why do you say it's very good?
Because he has destroyed the life of my son.
We heard the family came to give you money to settle out of court. Is it true?
Yes, it's true.
What did you tell them?
We refused to accept it, and they left. God bless you.
Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Semnesi ono na busia for ba mo fie se nkomo yi asem no. Omo ma musika na mo yi asem na ya no kure.
Ene kure.
Na omo ba den na mo ka kire omo.
Papa wo se won je eni se wo se nente ne kura. Ena omo koe. Ya mi salam.
Although happy at the sentence passed, the 16-year-old victim commiserates with Dr. Sulale Gabas's fate in jail, especially to leave behind his 3 children.
I had 2 mixed feelings. And the first was I was happy because finally justice has been served. And the second was I was a bit sad because he has left behind 2 children and a wife, and families as well. They will feel bad. But then I thank God that finally justice has been served.
I have had people who are also questioning your genuineness in all of this, and what they say is that the boy too is a bad boy. In other words, some are of the belief that you were already in the act before meeting Dr. Sule Ali Gabas. How do you respond to such critics?
Honestly, I don't feel anything, since everybody has his or her right to express his or her opinions when cases like this happen. But then, in the first place, I don't think we should be judgmental over here. Because at first, I already wanted someone to help me, but I didn't know how to. I even went to the human rights advocacy for about 3 months before I was admitted at the hospital. But then they told me how it will be. That's the more reason why I couldn't come out. But finally I had to come out, so I'm not a bad boy. I'm not in the least surprised, because everybody has to express his or her opinions. Everybody has the right to express his or her opinion. Very careful how we judge others. We shouldn't do that, because we don't know what might come our way. So we should be very careful when we are saying certain things.
We heard the sound of that young gentleman, that 16-year-old SHS student. The voice there was muffled to protect his identity. But meanwhile, Executive Director of NGO Child Rights International, Brighter Pia, is asking the state to, as a matter of urgency, begin a process that will rehabilitate and reintegrate the victim in the Ali Gabas trial into society. The child rights activist believes the ruling does not in any way provide for the victim's future.
There's a need for us to protect the child. And when it comes to the welfare of children, it is the state that lead the process in terms of how we will do it, so that individuals can also contribute to that. So the state still owes the child some level of responsibility by providing and supporting the child. And if the state thinks that leaving the child in society will pose some danger to him, then I think that in the wisdom of it, they would advise in terms of how they want to do it. But there are so many processes that you need to go through to do that, because the growth of every child, the Constitution provides that it must be in the natural environment of the child. So if the parents are alive, and we think that we can guarantee the security of the child in that environment, why not? The state would also commit the child into the hands of the parent. So those are the processes that we have to see. But if we cannot guarantee the safety of the child in that environment, then of course we need to take the child from that environment and provide an environment that will be safe for the child. But I know that within this period, a lot of things will go on. So security is very, very important, and also maintenance and rehabilitation must also take place. And I think that if we get the opportunity and the parent of the child is willing to do that, why not? We would do it, because the safety of the child at this critical moment is very, very important.
Well, Mr. Pia also says it will be better if the family of the convicted doctor have a change of environment, as this will inure to the benefit of his children. But we can do some more stories, and some observers following the case have also been sharing their impressions about the outcome of that particular case.
Obviously, I know that this man was thinking he could find his way through, especially when he was starting trial and then judgment was going to be given, and first count was given to him. He was acquitted and discharged, thinking that was all. He fell from the seat, and you know, he thought he'd been sentenced, he'd been given, let's go, and so he was just okay. Later, the judge said, but when the bat came, they have to help rescue him and sit down before the Ray judgment was given the 25 years. You know, he knew definitely going to go. And as you saw him, although he was in handcuff, he was moving about, giving two-way up, you know, two thumbs up to the people, and he was not even showing kind of any rumor that whatever he have done is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate. People that will watch on TV to see the kind of behavior he put up here, even though he was in cells, yet he doesn't feel anything bad.
For me, what I thought was a low point in the trial was the low point as with regards to the lawyers of Dr. Gabas, when he was given the opportunity opportunity to express himself or to tell the court something, he started nicely by apologizing. At a point, he brought in that LLB, those gay rights and other things, by citing what has happened in America and urging on the court that United Nations Charter, are in support of that, and the court should really consider those things. I thought that did not help, the matter, because in our African setting, we abhor some of these things.
We all saw him, when he came out, when he was taken to the cell, he appeared excited, delightful. Why would you think he will still be delighted when he's been handed 25 years?
For me, I see it is because of what he's been doing. This morning I was speaking to the investigator, and the investigator told me that in Sawum, where he is, he has become really a boost and of course an important element into the infirmary there. He takes care of a lot of the workers there. I'm told he even takes care of the warders, the prison officers, including the inmates. So I think he has seen that though he's been charged and he's been convicted, his practice as a doctor is going to continue in the prison. So he feels that he's still going there to work.
Still at the courts, and an Accra resident, frustrated by the poor roads in her community, is suing her district assembly in a bid to get her roads done. Lawyer Margaret Champon of the Teshinungwa estate says the Lejokuku-Krowo municipality has largely failed to execute its responsibility of fixing the roads, even though she has honored her tax obligations. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur has more.
The plaintiff, Margaret Champon, is unhappy about the poor state of the road leading to her home in Teshinungwa Estate, where she has lived since 1970. The Oleander Street in particular has developed several potholes, which she says makes driving stressful. Since 2 initial warning letters from her were ignored by the Lejokuku-Krowo Municipal Assembly, she turned to the court for redress, filing a suit at the High Court against the Assembly on December 4, 2014.
In fact, when I filed the writ, their lawyer thought he could get out of it by using technicalities. So the first process he filed to court was that they should strike out the case because I didn't go according to Section 127 of Act 462, which means that you have to give the Assembly notice, 1 month notice, before you can sue them. And we went, and the judge told him that there are letters showing that I warned them way back in 2013 and 2014. So what does it mean? So his application was struck out. So it was only last Friday that I was served with their defense. And their defense they filed is that it's a question of they don't have the mandates. They are doing it. According to them, they are doing. I'll give you a copy. They are saying that they are filling potholes and doing all kinds of things. It's a question of time, and they are doing it with scanty, resources. So I should exercise patience to get to my turn. But I don't know how long I can wait. I'm 72, and to be always pandoing every morning and evening, and if I have to walk, then I have to do hop, step, and jump to be able to walk through here. I don't know how long I can last. Moreover, my car is being affected.
Apart from the road repairs, Margaret, who is acting for herself in court, is also seeking relief of 50,000 Ghana cedis for the emotional stress she has suffered as a result of the bad roads. Margaret expects city authorities to perform their duties satisfactorily so far as she pays all taxes demanded of her.
The normal behavior of our rulers these days is that for them to only make themselves comfortable at our expense. Because if I pay money to you, I expect that you should also render service to me, and that service is not coming. In fact, property rates, we have no way of knowing. They just keep on increasing. Every year they increase. They don't tell us. All that they do is to increase and bring it. And as a law-abiding person, I pay it. Now, when I pay, I expect you also in turn to also render service to me, and we are not getting that.
She heads back to court on Tuesday, July 21, where she expects the court to pass judgment on admission.
Once their defense shows that is saying that they admit that they owe that responsibility, but they are doing it. They are only constrained by resources. Okay. There's no point in going through the whole trial.
Oh, okay.
So I'm filing a motion for judgment on admission.
The roads manager of the assembly was not immediately available for comment, but the fact still remains that only 20% of the 517-kilometer road network in the municipality is tarred.
You're watching News Today here on Joy News Multi TV. We'll be back shortly with some more. Don't go away. While school feeding caterers are angry with the Municipal Assembly for attempting to steal their monies owed them, Joy News' Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
Caterers, they are angry for simple reason, and they are saying that for the past 4 or so years, anytime they go to the one Municipal Assembly to pick their tax for payment, their monies are deducted without their knowledge. And so yesterday was payday. And you remember, schools were on strike, teachers were on strike between 18th October and then also 22nd October and then November 18th. And so what happened was that they were expected to pay tax for 31 days. And actually they did cook for 41 days. So they expected to pay 31 days. That's only 10 days. But here's the case, they went to one Municipal Assembly to pick these payment checks, only to be told that they will only be paid 17, some took 15 and then 18. But the interesting thing is that on this issue, they were made to pick these checks which were signed for 31 days and in reality, but they are paid for 14 or 15 days. And so that brought the confusion, and they are saying that they won't take those particular checks.
So what exactly do they plan on doing now? Have they, for instance, reported this issue to authorities?
According to they said for them they have done whatever they could do for them to be saved from them, because already their debtors are chasing them, and they are saying that they have not really benefited from this program since they started it. And so they are appealing to the government, especially President Mahama, to really come to their aid. But the explanation from the Assembly is also that they said the deduction were done in Accra by the school feeding secretariat, not by the one Municipal Assembly. And so their issue of accusing them of thievery is balderdash.
Let's talk politics now. And the 2012 presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Pakwesi Ndom, has sharply criticized groups which observed the recent by-election at Talensi in the Upper East region. Dr. Ndom says the observer groups have failed to highlight the violence that characterized the poll, but rather suggested all was well. Addressing a news conference on the Talensi by-election and its fallout, Dr. Ndom also faulted the Electoral Commission's conduct of the polls.
Responsibility to my family, to my customers, business customers, my business partners, to be a responsible Ghanaian. That's why I don't allow Progressive People's Party people to do what other people allow their party members to do. Some of us also know how to buy guns, how to get bows and arrows. We know where poor, hungry, and desperate people are, who don't care what happens to them today, because they know that, well, there's nothing there. We know where, if we want them, where we can go and get thousands of them. So if some people think that they can raise an Azoka army or Bolga bulldogs, what happens if those of us who have disciplined ourselves so far also decide to raise an army of sea lions for counterattack? What happens if we do that? Because we can do it. What happens if the people who have been suffering silently decide that enough is enough? So if in 2012, my small 1,200 votes, you change it and you make it 300, and I was silent. If you go and do it to me again next time, and I decide that, your 2 million, you want to come and take my 1,000, and I decide that I will resist, and I will resist violently, then what will happen to this country? So it's not those people who are keeping this country safe. They are not the ones who are maintaining the stability. It is those of us, the silent sufferers. We know we can buy thousands of guns, can buy thousands of ammunition, we can bring thousands of people to also fight, but we choose not to. Remember that. We choose not to.
Dr. Ndum said, considering the impunity vigilante groups are allowed to operate and perpetrate violence during elections, the PPP may be compelled to also unleash its own vigilante group similar to the Azoka Boys of the National Democratic Congress.
Senselessly deluding ourselves that we are in a democracy, that there is freedom of choice, and that elections are free and fair in Ghana. The unfairness in Ghana's elections starts way before the actual elections. Then it continues to election day. And yes, election observers are well-meaning, but they have become another element of cover-up for stealing and bribery. If you had been a Talensi, you would have known. Yes, for election observers, they went there, and in the end, they said, oh, the election was free and fair. Free and fair to whom? And where? Where was the free? Where was the fair? We have an EC that is election-focused and is also behind times. Otherwise, why is the EC still encouraging the use of party polling agents when they do not exist in advanced economies? The new chairman of the Electoral Commission must bring this important institution into the 21st century and make it stronger by enforcing the laws that it is supposed to work with.
Meanwhile, the executive director of the West African Network for Peace Building, Chukwu Emekeze, has condemned the decision of the Progressive People's Party to form a vigilante group. The party's threat follows accusations of bias raised by the party against election observers at the recently held Talensi by-election. But, yeah.
The fact that what they are condemning it and little seems to be done, it doesn't make it much right if they also go ahead and recruit, just to balance what others are doing. So I'm thinking that PPP should show the example by mobilizing the citizens to stand up to what they consider to be wrong, and also focusing their campaign on what they think is the right thing, which is that they will come out clean to prosecute their electoral process using what they consider to be their manifesto, rather than intimidating others just because others are, no matter the level they go, that is right. As a civil society organization, we are looking for opportunities to condemn this. We are going to place the discussions at the table of all the political actors, and then we are going to look for ways to deal with it.
With about 500 tricycles ready to be distributed at a cost to youth between the ages of 20 and 25, Microfinance and Small Loan Center, MASLOC, hopes to create jobs for the unemployed youth. Now, at a partnership program between GIHOC and MASLOC, Chief Executive of MASLOC, Sedina Tamaklo-Ationu, tells Joy News all you need is 1,000 cedis deposit and the tricycle is yours.
The Microfinance and Small Loan Center, MASLOC, in partnership with GIHOC Distilleries, launched the about 500 tricycles Monday. The tricycles are expected to create jobs for the unemployed youth between the ages of 20 and 25. Chief Executive of MASLOC, Sedina Tamaklo-Ationu, tells Joy Business the entire project cost about 4 million cedis, but is excited the partnership will be beneficial to the youth. She explains how it works.
People are not purchasing outright, so you have a deposit payment depending on how long you want to take the tricycle for. We have a 6-month period, we have a 12-month, we have 18 months, and then 24 months. But basically the deposit is anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 Ghana cedis, depending on which period you want. And a monthly installment of about 500, I think between 500 and 1,000, depending on the period and how long you want to take it for. The partnership is that we are financing the product. GIHOC is providing the guarantees and bringing on the beneficiaries. So basically, GIHOC has a flat guarantee. So if they bring a beneficiary and the beneficiary doesn't pay, GIHOC is going to pay us.
Board chairman for GIHOC, Adekoka, says though this is their first partnership with Maslock, they are hopeful of a fruitful relations.
We are hoping to get about 500 of these vehicles in the system. You know, by that you can go countrywide, and more so our drinks will be sold. So we've got a lot of capacity within our establishment. So we need to, and then to do export as well beyond Ghana. To have to look beyond Ghana. So this is a beginning for bigger things to come on board.
Maslock in 2010 presented tricycles to selected youths in the northern region as part of measures of creating jobs in the region. The tricycles, which were given to the beneficiaries at the cost of 12.8 million cedis to be repaid in 4 years' time, were largely used as taxis to help reduce the transportation difficulties in the Tamale metropolis.
Government has launched a revised child protection policy in the country today. The Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, at today's launch says the new policy will be accessible and relevant to the needs of the Ghanaian child. Hanodami joins us now over the telephone lines with more. So, what is different about this policy?
Hello?
Hanodami, can you hear me?
Yes, better now.
I'm asking, what's so different about this policy?
Hello,
Hannah.
Hello. If you're asking about the policy, this policy is expected to provide greater protection for the children and also prevent them, especially from all forms of violence, abuse, neglect, and also exploitation. And this policy also is expected to empower all the children as well as the families in which they come from to recognize all abusive situations and also make informed choices. And then finally, this policy will also empower institutions so that they will be resourced to provide more child-friendly services to children. The important thing that has been going on here is for children, but then the issue is implementation and monitoring. And I have with me Sector Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Yolita, to tell us exactly how this new policy is different from the old one and how it will be implemented.
Yes, this policy historically is the first ever policy for family and children. We are relying on Ghanaian traditional values. We are relying on the chieftaincy institution. We have to introduce parenting skills and training. We also have to address challenges facing children, child abuse, sexual abuse, child marriages, and several other challenges. What is different with this policy is that we have an implementation plan which we are going to follow, which we are costing. We are actually even costing the whole concept where we do not address challenges facing children. So what is the cost of sexual abuse of children? What is the cost of lack of child support? Through this policy and the Justice for All policy, we are creating a special child support unit. This unit will go after parents who are not maintaining their children. We realize the court system is slow and we need a more effective means of ensuring that parents, especially fathers, who are not maintaining their children, not paying their school fees, are brought to book. So these are some of the innovations that this child and family welfare policy, protection policy is bringing.
You're going to charge the parents. Have you factored in the fact that some of these parents will tell you they do not have the needed resources and financial support to take care of their children? Have you factored that in, and how will you solve it?
We have factored it in. We know that 70% or so of our population are in the informal sector. So that has been a challenge in terms of attaching salary of the parents. So we're thinking and we're being very innovative about how we are going to get the money. Once a parent has brought a child into this world, that parent is primarily responsible for that child. And the government of Ghana has a legal responsibility to ensure that parents look after and maintain their children.
So, that's Nano Yelita explaining how this new policy will work and then the implementation process it will take.
Many thanks for your time on news today, Hanodami. That was Hanodami in an interview with the Gender, Minister Nana Oye Letha. You're taking a break. You're welcome back. Now let's take you to Parliament, where lawyers for clinical scientist Professor Alex Dodu have been apologizing for comments that they claim were misinterpreted.
First and foremost, Mr. Chairman, that Professor Dodu does not in any way disrespect this House. Well, that Professor Dodu, as a citizen, holds this House in the highest of esteem. My Lord, therefore, Mr. Chairman, Professor Dodu could not and did not insult this House. Mr. Chairman, he will not do that. It is not even compatible with his status, his enlightenment, his character, Mr. Chairman, and even the kind of work that he does to bring himself to the point that he can say something which is a direct affront or that is demeaning, Mr. Chairman, of this House. And therefore that to the extent, Mr. Chairman, that this House, Mr. Chairman, whether correctly or incorrectly, takes the slightest view that his comments were an affront to the dignity of this House, I hold his instructions to put on record, Mr. Chairman, his unconditional, irrevocable apology to this House, that he holds this House in the highest esteem, he honors this House, Mr. Chairman, and could not have intended to disrespect the House.
We'll return shortly with some showbiz right after this. Today, 86-year-old veteran actor George Williams says he will soon hit the movie market with his self-produced movie, which will become the measure for filmmakers here in Ghana.
That's what's been happening with you lately. For me personally, it's been a while I saw you on TV acting.
Well, I have done a few, one or two perhaps, done one or two films, and mostly working nowadays in the advertising thing. So there's nothing odd happening to me.
Rightly so, but you know, is there any new movie you're working on, or you have, you know, diverted altogether?
Well, I want to do a couple of movies myself, you know. I want to produce them myself. But let me start working on them and we can talk about it.
Well, you have been in the, you know, movie industry for a while. What do you have to say about current happenings? What's happening with our movie industry? I mean...
Well, I'm afraid I have nothing complimentary to say about the movie industry, because we have a whole lot of people who have no knowledge of, you know, they're not well schooled in the business of making films. And that's why we have all these juju films and things that we see, and I think it's atrocious. It doesn't do credit to the people who founded this industry, you know, the early people like.
Well, that'll be it for the showbiz segment. We'll be back with some international news. I will wrap up the bulletin here on News Today. My name is Kwabna Chenche Hiniboti. For more news, do well to log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy the rest of our broadcast.